quite a few players are starting to, get a little bit bold about talking about Jay Monahan and his running of the PGA Tour. Yeah, Nick Lashley blasting it, talking about the rank and file players, which I don't really have a soft spot for guys. You're either elite or you're not. I
Yeah.
get it that full fields are important, giving guys opportunities. We've learned a lot of these guys' stories as a result of you know, getting opportunities that they may not have otherwise received. That's awesome, but I think a more valid criticism was from Xander Schauffele this week that just said essentially they need a different type of leader, someone that's going to step up for the players, really provide some level of direction. We've seen
Yeah.
players step up to the plate throughout this whole thing, but we've seen Jay Monahan largely in the background,
Yeah.
really looking out for number one. What do you think about players vocally coming out at this stage? It's been relatively chill, but I think we're starting to see more notable people speak up and then, more harshly and directly.
I think it's the same as with any league, any professional sports league. When your elite players and the people that are bringing in crowds finally decide to speak up and poke their chest out, I think things get more accomplished. I think there's a little bit more weight behind it, and of course there's a little bit more pressure for the boss because they don't want these big names that are running the league and helping out with attendance and revenue and stuff like that speaking out against him because he feels like he's in control of that and he feels like he's doing a good job doing that, not trying to understand that it's the players and the way that these guys are playing that's really the story that's bringing people in. In a, like, I guess in a short explanation, I feel like they need a guy more closer compared to a Keith Pelly who was running the DP World Tour. Somebody that's truly invested in the players, somebody that literally will say a couple of statements, make some press conferences, but be behind the scenes. He doesn't need his face out there. He doesn't need his business out there. He wants the product that he is running to be forefront and most important in this whole debacle. So when you have guys like this that are, we have this going on and I'm not at liberty to say these types of things. And I just think it looks bad on him. And again, like I said, we talked about this already, how I just think he has, ulterior motives in this whole thing. As long as he gets his little, side bread and his little put out, it doesn't matter what
Yeah.
else happens. Hopefully, this is just
Yeah.
like the snowball effect and more people will come out. I mean, guys like Kentley, guys like Spieth, the people that our names are out there will come out and say something. And then maybe like a tour vet, not throwing any names out there, but maybe like a Jason Day or an Adam Scott, well traveled, really don't have anything more to lose. They've already made their
Yeah.
money. If they're on the outs, they're on the outs. And these guys, what are these fines going to be like? Remember, we didn't even know originally like what happened with DJ years ago when he got suspended for 6 months or was away from the tour for 6 months. They keep everything
Right.
under wraps. So these guys getting fined for talking shit to the commissioner, we probably won't ever find out about it if they getting fined. And if they do,
No.
little 25K, 50K slap on the wrist, they making that back in sponsorship bread in 1 week of events. So be it. But, like I said, when those guys start to speak up more, ownership and the product that they're, presenting instead of just worrying about themselves and worrying about the money, I think as a collective group, I think a lot more good things will happen, especially against Monahan and get somebody in there that's actually for the players.
Yeah. I think the exodus of players, I think we've seen the end of that, right? So
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see any other big names, people that, I think the PGA Tour and its new investors have been able to throw enough cash and different opportunities down the road at these players to keep them in the fold if they hadn't left early on. We're
Yeah.
not going to see those big names exiting any further, especially as we get closer to a deal. Of course, the target of 2026 makes sense as it seems we're so deep in this year that to kind of rejigger and configure everything for next year would probably be a bit rushed, not come together in the way that people would want. I think a lot of these live contracts are going to run out after next year as well. So it
Right.
again, it allows for things to flow a little bit smoother. I agree. The players speaking out definitely helps move things forward. You don't want too many people to get stirred up and cause issues. It may just cause some lower level defections if that happens. But again, I think the top guys have been locked in and they're loyal, and I think the narrative is around keeping their reputations at this point because we've seen what's happened. The notable exception has been Bryson DeChambeau.
Yeah.
So certain the case Brooks Koepka has been pretty unscathed just because he won the PGA last year, but everybody else has seen a drop off in their play for the most part. They haven't gotten better. They haven't
Right.
elevated their games and taken it to the next level. So I think that spells, doom for some players, especially when you look at guys that have been struggling on the PGA Tour, a Jordan Spieth, a JT. It wouldn't look good for them as they've struggled with their game here to go take some money and continue playing poorly with less reps and losing
Right.
some of the fire that you need to have to play on the PGA Tour, a couple times a month. So interesting. Like you said, the fines are also. Um, I think that's still being figured out. I think it was Brent Wiesberger. No, yeah, I think Brent Wiesberger. Also saw an article about him that the two co-sanctioned events with the DP World Tour, now that he's rejoined the DP, will not be able to play in those events that are here. One was the Barbasol, and then there's another event later in the PGA Tour season that DP World Tour guys can play in, and he is blocked from playing in both of those. So clearly, the fine stuff is still being worked on, and the logistics still
Yeah.
TBD. You get a lot of stuff out of this channel, y'all. A little business knowledge, a little technical golf knowledge, a little BS in here and there. You're in a well-rounded environment. So
Absolutely.
uh hit that subscribe button, hit that membership button. We got you covered on all things golf.